Hey guys, ElToroRyan here, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing part 2 of my first ride experience at some of the coasters at Cedar Point because it's Cedar Point week day 4, and we're trying to get in the Cedar Point spirit because Cedar Point opens this weekend, so that is always a good thing. And yeah, a couple things I want to mention before I do start this is, last video or yesterday's video, I kind of made it more into a review of the coasters instead of talking about my first experience, but I'm going to try to talk about my first experience and not go into a review of the coasters. So yeah, let's get started with Gemini. So my first ride experience on Gemini was pretty cool because me and my friends were able to do 2 different trains and race each other, and yeah, it was really fun. So what I was first thinking was, oh, this is gonna be like a more thrilling version of a mine train, because mine trains are hybrids and they have the same restraint system as Adventure Express, and Gemini kind of relate to each other, so that was what I was comparing it to. But I was like, okay, this is gonna be more thrilling. So of course, we were going up the lift hill, and we were trying to, high-five each other, but it wasn't really working out that well. And we were going up the lift hill, and it was just, really tall, in my opinion, because it looks from the ground like a short coaster that isn't that tall, but once you're going up the lift hill, it's a lot taller. And it's one of the coasters that, makes you, think it's short, but when you get on, it's tall. So those are my first thoughts on the lift hill. And then when we went down the first drop, I was a little bit surprised because, like I said, when you're looking at it, it's not as big as it is when you're actually on it. And it was a little bit of a forceful drop compared to what I was expecting it to be. Not compared to other coasters in the park, compared to what I was expecting it to be. And it was really kind of fun when we went down the drop, and of course, my friends were on the other side, and we were trying to high-five each other while we were doing the turnarounds. And I was on the blue side, so I did get to experience the head chopper moment, which was really, really fun. And I wish to go back to Cedar Point and ride the red side. If you count those as 2 credits, I'm really not sure, but I'm not really focused on credits right now. I just want to experience, really good coasters. And then maybe I'll focus a little bit more on credits than I am now. But yeah, those were my first ride thoughts on Gemini. And the one thing I thought throughout the thing was, the racer, you really don't get to interact with the people on the other side. And you don't get to high-five them. But on Gemini, I was able to high-five one of my friends, which was really cool. And I had never experienced that on a roller coaster before, so it was really cool just to have that experience. And I really like Gemini, so yeah. That was my first ride experience on Gemini, and now we're gonna go to my first ride experience on Magnum. Okay, my first ride on Magnum, it was really fun, and I really like it, but at first I had some mixed thoughts about it, so let's learn about my first ride experience on Magnum Xl200. So, first off, first time we were riding, we left the station, and then halfway through leaving the station, we're stopped. I am assuming what happened was someone had threw up on the previous, the train behind us, and the ride-up was telling the ride-up in control that someone had threw up, but they stopped the ride just to make sure they weren't saying anything else happened. And then the ride continued within a few seconds, so it wasn't anything major. We just stopped, and then they were looking around. The ride-ups were talking to each other, and then we moved on, and nothing else happened the rest of the ride until, well, you'll see. So we were going up the extremely long lift hill and loud lift hill, because it's an aero lift hill, which is always fun. But I really didn't expect this coaster to be that big, of a drop, and my expectations were met, because it wasn't as big as a drop, because I was expecting it to be like Diamondback, which is a B&M hyper, and since this is the first hyper coaster, I was like, well, it's a hyper coaster. But now I have some different perspectives on different hyper coasters and different Giga coasters, so that really changed my perspective on it. The first drop was really fun. It didn't feel like a hyper coaster, but it still felt like a fun coaster. And then we went through the layout, which was oddly rough, but here, I don't like wooden coasters, and when I rode this for the first time, it was rough, and it was a weird kind of rough, which I liked it. And I rarely like rough coasters, so it was weird for me to like it on my first time when it was rough. But yeah, we were going through the layout, and the turnaround is weird, I thought. Like, when we banked to the whatever side we banked to and turned around with the brakes, it was kind of weird because you were just sitting sideways for a minute, and it was a weird, odd experience. But it was pretty cool, and I really like Magnum, especially the Airtime hills at the end, which are insane. And the tunnels were lighting up and stuff, and it was just an overall great experience. I was holding on to the handlebars the whole time because those Airtime hills are intense, and I was not like a real enthusiast at the time who wanted a lot of airtime. So I wasn't really worried about getting airtime, but next time I go, I'm gonna get a lot of airtime. So we'll see what my thoughts are after I get back from my next trips. And yeah, so that's all I have for Magnum. Well, I did want to talk about, we were stopped abruptly on the brake run after that tunnel. Like, the brake run before you turn into the final brakes, abruptly, because they were still cleaning the one train off from the person who got sick. They were cleaning it off, and then they sent it out to dry off. And it was like really abrupt stop, and that really kind of hurt a little bit. Not much though. And then we made our way to the final brakes. That was what I was talking about earlier. But that was kind of an odd experience. But this is the one coaster we did ride twice because the line was so short while we were walking by. We were like, hey, it's Magnum. We'll just hop another ride on since the line's so short. And that's the only coaster we ride twice. So moving on. So my first ride on Corkscrew was kind of an odd one because we went in a group of 4 friends, and my one friend decided that they were going to go ride Tupdale Dragster instead of ride Corkscrew with us because they had been there before and they did not like Corkscrew. So we were like, okay, well, we'll just hop on Corkscrew. And I was like, it's an aero looper, so, I mean, I guess I've ridden Vortex before. It's just like Vortex. And we were assigned to the back row, and I was like, oh, well, that's gonna be a rough ride. And it was. So the first loop was pretty fun. This is like an aero loop, and then the corkscrews were aero corkscrews, which it was kind of fun to do because I had been missing those since I rode Vortex, and it was just a pretty cool experience to be able to do those again. They were just as good as I remember, so it wasn't as bad in the back as you might think it would be, but it's still kind of a rough ride. Okay, and then moving on to Raptor. Okay, so my first ride on Raptor was a little bit odd because we had just got off a blue streak and I was still warming up the coasters. Like I said, I wasn't fully into coasters at the time when we went to Cedar Point, so it was kind of odd taking that big step from blue streak to Raptor. But the whole time going up the lift hill, I was reassuring myself, this is just like Banshee. And the only thing that was different at the time was the restraints, because Banshee has vest restraints and Raptor has over-the-shoulder restraints, the normal B&M over-the-shoulder restraints, which, in my opinion, are a lot better after I rode this. But my favorite part of Raptor is its whippiness and intensity. But the story about going into it is I didn't know anything about its intensity at all. So going into the first vertical loop, I was like, hey, this isn't too bad. This is just like Banshee. And then the 0G roll was a little bit whippy, and I was like, oh my, that's kind of whippy. I'm not sure if I like that. Spoiler alert, I do. And we went into the Cobra Roll, and I was just like, man, this isn't just like Banshee. This is a lot better than Banshee because it's whippier. And I really like the intensity on Raptor, and it is very, very fun. And just going through those last couple corkscrews and then the final helix is amazing, and I really liked the intensity on my first time. I just didn't know it because when I went on my first time, like I said, I had no clue about its intensity going into it, and during the ride I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I like that, but after it I was like, oh my goodness, that's actually really fun, and I really liked it, and that's why I like Raptor better than Banshee. If you haven't seen that video, I made it a while ago, so you can go check that one out. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I have for you guys today, and I just really wanted to share some of my first ride experiences, but I just want to reassure you that tomorrow's video will be different than my first ride experiences at some of the coasters at Cedar Point, just because I want some differences in Cedar Point week rather than the same video for 3 days in a row. So we're gonna get a different video out tomorrow for you guys, and yeah. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Just a reminder that this is day 4 of Cedar Point week, where I'm making a video every day to get in the Cedar Point spirit because Cedar Point opens this week. And if you want to go check out day 1, 2, and 3, you can go check out that on my channel. It's just the most recent video. So if you want to go check out that, then you can go check out that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching. This is ElToroRyan signing off.